Hey guys, I'm Tiffany and welcome to the Wise Skies podcast. I have my friend Leisha Barnett with me here today and colleague. If you're new to Wise Skies, you can check us out at wiseskiescollective.com. Wise Skies is a spiritual development agency. We offer resources, classes, sessions in astrology, human design, and psychic development. And so we have tried to do this podcast like 3 or 4 times at 3 or 4 different locations. Maybe it's what's wanting to happen. Maybe it's not. We're trying to record during Mercury retrograde and, that's what we get, I guess. But the thing that brought us together was to talk about soul purpose. And just a little bit of quick housekeeping before we go into the topic. Over at Wise Skies, we have 3 classes for our membership, and 1 is free for everybody. But they go like this month. So May 3rd, Leisha is going to be teaching about incarnation, crosses, and human design at noon for our members. May 6th at noon Central, I'm going to be teaching about North Node astrology, which is North Node is kind of like the key for the purpose in astrology and the astrology chart. That's free for everybody, but you do have to go register. And then our 3rd offer in May is about spirit guides, and I'm teaching that on May 18th at 6 Central. And so our members have access to all of them, and just the astrology one is free for everybody. If you want to come get a taste, see what the flavor of Wise Skies is, we would love to have you. So the way that we have been talking about soul purpose, it's very much not how it's presented in mainstream. So mainstream, it's kind of presented as this thing that's outside of you, or this thing to answer, or you might have FOMO if you're missing out on what your life purpose is, which is something that nobody can tell you, right? Like, please do not go hire a psychic or astrologer or human design analyst to tell you what your purpose is. Your purpose is something that is expressed through you. So do you want to share before I go on my rant?
Yeah. Well, it's kind of what you're saying. It's like we each have the way that we are meant to operate, and our purpose unfolds. Sometimes we cannot see it. We cannot be aware of it. But if we're knowing ourselves and kind of looking at these things and really just operating cleanly within ourselves, and there's layers of that, then the life purpose will unfold over our life. So before human design, I did a lot of kind of corporate leadership things, and we talk a lot about purpose, and it's like what you're good at, what you can be paid for, what the world needs, and all of those are good things to kind of become conscious of how you feel about. But ultimately, like, you don't have to go find it. It's not something that's out there waiting for you to find, that you're going to either do it right or do it wrong,
or miss out at the end of your life and have completely missed your whole point of coming to this earthly plane, right?
Yeah.
So one of my teachers, Lisa Williams, teaches it like this, and I think it's brilliant because she talks about it in terms of, my purpose right now is to have an intelligent conversation with one of my very best friends on the planet, and share it with all of you guys. Now that makes sense in my design. It makes sense in my astrology. But after Leisha leaves, my purpose will be to go meet all the herbalist chicks for dinner, and I will be still living my purpose, but differently. So it will change. After that, I'll come home and do the dishes, and my purpose will still be expressed through me. And here's how. It falls out in my chart, in astrology and in human design. So, for example, my midheaven is in Virgo. Okay. And so Virgo is all about service. It's earthy. It's bringing practical tips and tools and bullet points. It's on the edgy side. It would be fixing where I'm not asked to fix things, right? I just want to make it right for you. But in an invited way, it's very helpful to have these bite-sized elements of support and assistance that comes through this really grounded, practical way. So that's what we're doing with the podcast right now. That's what we're going to do with the herbalist later. That's going to be part of me washing the dishes, and it's just going to express through me. You had pointed something out in my design.
Yeah. And so in your human design, a lot of different elements go into kind of the purpose in human design as it's laid out and expressed there, which we will talk about tomorrow in the incarnation class in more kind of detail and practical tidbits. But in human design, Tiffany is a 3-5 profile. So even just if you take that, it's like her purpose is to experiment and then share the practical things that she learns about what doesn't work and what does. And she's going to do that in every scenario, in every stage of life. That is how she's moving through this life. So part of her purpose is to be an experimenter who shares the practical things that come out of her experiments. And then pointing out direction, new directions for love or new directions for people that they might not have access to themselves. And so that's kind of your whole purpose. And that is shown in the human design. And it also, of course, integrates with the astrology because that's a synthesis. The human design synthesizes astrology into it as well.
Yeah. And, a lot, we were talking about the North Node class. Well, my North Node is in Leo too. And so that is the heart-centered leader, to be in front of the business, to be in front of things, to be looked at, right? Mm-hmm. And that is also a very fifth line thing in human design that I have. So there's a lot of this weaving together of where you could look if you were like, I don't know what my soul purpose is. You can go to the charts. There are things that you can access to help you know yourself deeply and to bring the unconscious conscious, right? Like our favorite topic.
Exactly what I was going to add. Yeah. Cause all these things, it's like we're not conscious of what our purpose is. Like I've had those questions in my own life, like, what am I supposed to be doing? And like, where am I going? And what is my ultimate thing? And that led me to, I think, the human design system, all the astrology, all these different tools that allow the unconscious to come up from back in the, in the shadows where it's unconscious and we're not aware of it. And it's like, oh, bring it up here. So all these tools, the incarnation class, the North Node, the spirit guides, all of these can bring the unconscious things that are in our being, because we're not aware of everything that obviously is out there or that is in us. So it can bring it up up to the surface. Mm-hmm. And then we can kind of start to feel into that and just work with that and see what awareness unfolds over time with those concepts. So yeah, I love how you said that. And it's all about just bring it into awareness and then wait and see what unfolds as that awareness integrates.
I also just want to acknowledge that we both feel super awkward sitting right next to each other and talking to you guys. Yes. Because we did try it at different locations and in different rooms. And so thank you for your patience to sit like right by me to do this. So just, anyways,
we just want to acknowledge that. Name the thing that we all see and feel.
Right. Oh my God. Okay. So soul purpose, right? If you were going to talk about this from a design aspect that wasn't just profile, what else might you look at?
So really it comes from, there's a few main elements, and again, we'll break them down and kind of have some slides to show, and we'll demonstrate it in the class tomorrow. But you're going to want to know what quarter you are in on the mandala, on the Rave mandala wheel, which is really just the body graph, except it's actually with all the kind of the systems you can see that have gone into the human design system that are creating the activations in the body graph. So you want to know where you are on the wheel. There's 4 quarters, and those have purposes fulfilled through certain things. And it makes sense with creation and the way that, humanity and evolution and all of that moves. You want to know where you are on the quarter. Which quarter you're in on the wheel. You want to know your personality your design and personality, suns and earths, which is the top 4 gates in your chart. You could literally just look up those names, and that's 70% of your expression and purpose on this earth in this incarnation. And then carnation, the flower, in this carnation, this blue line over here. And then you also want to look at, if you're like a right angle or left arc. So you can, if you enter your chart, your birth info in the My Body Graph, you will see all of the data, and you can see your suns and earths, but you can also see what your incarnation cross is called. And so if you're right or left angle, that can kind of talk to you, show us if we have personal destiny or transpersonal karma that we're here kind of unfolding, our life is unfolding and fulfilling. And the whole thing is kind of, it's back to the passenger consciousness of like, become aware of these things and then surrender to let life move through you as as it is designed to move through you, and as you are designed for it to move through you. So it's like, feels really good to start to bring some of these elements in and just then watch. They don't make sense often at the beginning, especially with human design and the incarnation cross, because we are conditioned and we haven't, been aware of these things. But as soon as I heard my cross, I'm the right angle cross of rulership in the quarter of transformation. So for me, I was like, rulership, interesting. Okay. I've been in leadership development in my career for decades. But I came to like, I don't want to be the leader. I just want to talk about being a leader and, almost like lead from the back.
Good.
So I'm making notes. So it has unfolded a little bit more and more clearly to me as I've kind of been in this experiment of like, oh, it's about actually sort of leading from the back for me. So that's where that particular expression comes out in your own life as you become aware of these things.
And if you're like, oh my God, what is she talking about? Like face melt moment, don't worry, because this is why the membership is so great, because you have access to ask Leisha all the questions that you might want to ask in a class setting, but also with your own personal chart, because we all learn from each other in the lounge. And so if you haven't had a HD session yet, or you're not quite sure that you want to jump into a foundation session, this membership and being able to talk through some of these things that sound really granular, but are actually really illuminating and I don't know, just
like logical,
right? Yeah, it's like there's not a lot of mystic woo going on. It's more like, oh, it makes sense for me to feel this way, or for this to ignite me, or for this to feel like my purpose, because I can see it in the charts in a couple of different places, So I just want to invite everybody to check out the membership if having a foundation session feels like more than where you're at right now. Something else came up when you were talking about the crosses. Oh, okay. So if you're only looking at the suns and the earths in that chart, our friend Georgia has her personality, right? The right side sun in gate 9, which is the gate of the small. There's many ways to say the gate. What's the other way?
Like it's almost like focusing on the details, but like having the time and space to kind of hone in on the details.
So Georgia, hi, if you're listening, we love you.
We do love you.
But she's such a good example for me as I learned the system, because she's a fellow beekeeper. She's my bee best friend. See my honeycomb? Yeah. So anyway, she to have her personality sun to express herself through the gate of the small, she does all these small little things with the bees where you have to be present and in the moment and take care of the tiny little things. And so to me, that's like, oh, that's how that expresses through. Now, she wasn't like lost at sea, doesn't know where she is, looks at her chart, sees that and decides I'm going to be a beekeeper. It just naturally expresses through her. And interestingly enough, in all of the beekeepers' charts that I've looked at, they have a significant gate 9.
Interesting.
I know.
Wow.
I know. Very
Love
interesting. That. And so that's the beauty of being able to come together in group discussion and talk through some of these things. In terms of soul purpose, in terms of astrology, what we're going to talk about in class is your North Node. And so before we got on, we were like, oh my God, my hair, it's like so liony, like I look so Leo-y right now. And my North Node is in Leo. I do give off that impression, you know what I mean? But Leo is such a far cry from the rest of my chart, right? The rest of my chart would indicate that I am very private, behind the scenes, directing from the back seat, very introverted. But that Leo North Node is what makes everybody else think that I'm super extroverted, party girl, life of the party. I've got Sag rising. There are a couple of indicators of that, but it's not how I naturally feel, right? And so the North Node will pull you in a direction that is forward, that is your destiny, that feels a little out of your comfort zone. And it is expressing naturally through me. I didn't have to make myself look like a Leo. I just do, right? But it's just so different than the rest of my chart. It just brings out this little peak element. I don't mean to be just talking about myself. I'm just trying to give a flavor of the whole, soul purpose.
Part of the generator, in human design, the manifesting generator aura type is to know yourself. So it makes sense that you would, you know yourself. You're on this journey of like knowing yourself. So that it's great for you to share that.
And the projector journey is to know the other.
To know the other, like at the sake of myself. So it's like, no, but also that fits here because through you sharing about yourself, I then like, I touch on things in me, but I almost couldn't in a way, like there's a limitation there of like not necessarily being able to do that unless it's through the other.
Through the conversation.
There's elements of that. Yeah,
exactly. I'm like following you and like coming over. No, the other way that we're going to talk about this, the expression of your soul purpose is through connecting with your spirit guides. Everybody has access to your spirit guides. The first question we all want to know is what's their name, what's their background, where they come from, how am I going to recognize them? And there are strategies in your psychic development to raise your vibration and to connect with spirit guides. You will have at least one that's with you through your whole life, and you will have others that will have seasons with you. And that's just one philosophy. So I'm going to teach what I learned and what I practice and how I experience feeling them. And you're going to be able to use some of these strategies and techniques for yourself and take what you want and leave the rest, of course. But that is my soul purpose expressing, like, here's some strategies on how to connect with your spirit guides, with your soul guides. The spirit guides, you can connect with them to ask questions about your soul purpose. That's why that class is part of the psychic development loop this month. And so the class is focused towards that specifically. And often I find that that's what people want to hear or want to know when they want to connect with their soul guides, with their spirit guides. That's really the deepest question. The surface questions are, is he the right one for me? Am I in the right job? But what you want to know deep down is, am I messing it all up or am I on the right path? And there's no way you're not on the right path. So there's no way you can do this life wrong. But there are these helpful tools and resources along the journey for those of us that want to question and want to know more. Something else we talked about earlier was you don't have to know everything. Not everything is for knowing. Some things are better left in the mystery, right? And so if it's not obvious to you, if it's not clicking into gear, it might be for a reason. It might not be the right time for you to unravel the mystery of your soul purpose in this moment because you're already living it, and so just have patience with yourself and throughout the process of looking for your soul purpose because you're already doing it. It's just not clicking for you that you're already doing it. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Or it's almost like you can't see it yet, but almost trusting that like you will see it when the time. And something I love that is making me think about that is what our friend shared about, like, you can also just sit in, like, do almost like an intentional meditation where you ask a question like, I would like to know my soul. I would like to know my soul purpose or connect with that feeling, whatever I can feel right now, whatever level, and almost like asking spirit guides for that, awareness to come in, and then just sitting and breathing. And then what our friend shared is then you can do some inspired writing and just see what comes up, and that will be what is correct for you to see at that point. So
our friend Maggie.
Yeah.
Okay, I was like, you can say.
Okay.
So our friend Maggie Winokur, and she's a talented medium. She's a fellow master teacher with me at Lisa Williams School, and she's absolutely fabulous. She's actually going to be making some appearances here at Wise Skies, and so I'm glad that you brought what she set up because I think it does help. You just set an intention, do some automatic writing, ask for a dream. Ask to be shown that you're on the right path. Watch for the synchronicities. Ask for the synchronicities. I want to give an example of how I asked for the synchronicities this week, if that's okay.
Yeah. It's funny because I was just talking to my teenager about the synchronicities because I was like, I don't know if I've ever necessarily explained that I operate that way. Right. I haven't ever verbalized it. And so I was just telling them about it because it was like all these things were kind of lining up for us too. So yes, It's a perfect thing for you to share.
All right. So it's about your spirit guides. And so for me, I was having a particularly rough day and I wanted to connect with my mom and my grandmother. I just wanted to feel their presence. I don't treat them like spirit guides, but I do feel like you can make a connection with your ancestors that have passed when you need to and when you want to, and they hear the call. So, all right, I'm sitting at this Mexican food restaurant in the back patio by myself, doing a huge fear inventory, right? As we're recording this, we're going into the Scorpio eclipse, which hits exactly my natal sun. And so there are some big fears that are coming up from the subconscious to the conscious. And it's just time to clean house a little bit and deal with them. If I don't deal with them, I know how I'm going to feel, right? So I'm by myself. I'm doing this huge long fear inventory. I'm getting like emotional. I'm at the place where my mom and my grandma and I used to go, and it's next door to this cute little boutique where we used to shop a little, right? Well, I got done with my fear inventory and I'm like crying on the patio, eating my like praline, and the whole thing is a mess. And anyways, I went next door. I had no business shopping for any reason, but I wanted to feel that connection with them. And I did. It was girly. It was like my family. It just felt really sweet. And I get this, I tried on one outfit, didn't quite work, but the jeans did. And so I take the jeans up to the counter and I'm like, I just have no business buying new clothes right now. It's like, what am I even doing? What I was doing was following a response. Do I want to go in? Yes. Do I want to try this on? Yes. Do I want to buy these? Yes. And so I go up to the counter with really, it just wasn't the right logical thing to be doing in the moment. And the sales rep was like, oh, you have a store credit. And it was the exact amount of the jeans I owed 1 penny. And I didn't know I had a store credit. I didn't go there thinking I had a store credit. I'm pretty sure I didn't have a store credit.
It actually wasn't a store credit.
Yeah.
Like someone else's store credit.
Yeah, I know. Somebody else with my phone number or similar name, or I don't know. But I tried to make right by it. I wasn't like, tee, give it to me. I was like, are you sure? Because I don't think I have one. Well, they assured me that I did. And in that moment, I was like, oh, they came. They made a way. And because the thing that I really loved about being there is that like my love language is gifts, which is always so shallow for me to admit, but I loved going there with them because they would treat me. I would get a new nightgown, like not often, right? But it was this treat that they gave me. And so in that moment, I felt like they gave me something, and there was a connection. And there's this connection to the spirit world, to the guides, to our ancestors. And it's a synchronicity that I needed in a moment where I'm like wondering, am I pivoting some of my soul purpose? Am I doing right by my own soul? With all of the things that I do, we all question that, right? So the synchronicities will also help you. You do need to ask for them and invite them in. Do you want to share some synchronicities too?
That one was kind of interesting because it didn't really pan out, but it also was like so clear. And who knows, like we could end up getting, a text in tomorrow, right. And it's like, oh, of course. Like, but that one, it was, we'd been looking for a dog for the family. And it was this group that posted that they had to rehome their dog. And it was like, the name was Tiny Ted, it's the same, like type of dog as my mother-in-law has, and his name is Ted. So we were like, okay, Tiny Ted, weird.
Yeah.
And then the dog's name was Otis, which we have another dog named Milo. And we were like, oh, really? It's going to be Milo and Otis. Yeah. without even, and then there was some other element about it too, that, it was just all lined up, and it just felt like, so it's like, that's one kind of like a little more, I guess, elementary example of like a little synchronicity.
Yeah.
But they happen all the time. And I can't even, it's like, if you think there's no coincidences, you really can see them, otherwise you might not really look at them, or the awareness, if you're not really aware that they are there, or to ask for them or to look for them, then we miss them, so we're looking at the wrong thing. So that's part of this, is like, oh, I can ask for and just continually look for those magical coincidences, as part of this kind of soul purpose process.
Exploration.
Yeah,
really.
Exactly. Yeah.
Is there anything else that you wanted to say that we were joking about earlier? We were like having such a fun time, like
let's push record.
like dissing soul purpose, right? Because it's just such a weird, true. Like, oh, your soul purpose, like it's over there somewhere. Like,
right. You haven't found it yet.
Yeah, you're never gonna find it. You're on the wrong path. Like, what the hell? Like, it's such a weird message out there.
Yeah.
And that somebody honked. So thank you, Spirit. Lisa said sneeze on the tree. Yeah.
Honk on the truth. Interesting.
Yeah.
Or honk.
Yeah.
Honk or sneeze. Honk or sneeze, whichever. No, I think those are the main points that we kind of came with.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's just liberating to actually, if you think about all these things, it's like, oh thank God, I don't have to actually find and continue to seek and like figure it out mentally and make a plan to get to my purpose.
And like there's this action step or like, no, there's not.
It's like, no, it's very liberating. You just know, like learn and know yourself and embody yourself, your true self, you know? So
and I think it's cute. Like, I don't go wash the dishes and be like, oh my God, am I doing my Virgo thing? Is it happening? Am I checking off my soul purpose list by being here? And this, you know, it's not, it's just unfolds from you. And you can notice and see how cute it is that it's unfolding, right? Very,
I love that.
Very hope and innocence.
Yeah, it is hope and innocence. That's from our human side. Yes.
Well, thank you for sitting this one through with me.
Absolutely.
I'm
pleasure.
Really glad that it took so long because it meant that we got to hang out even more. And
we kept having to have hangouts again because we were like, oh, we still need to do the podcast. And here we are.
And we just trust that it happens in divine right timing and that we just, you know, ask the universe to deliver this message to those who need to hear it the most. And let yourself off the hook. We're here for a good time, not a long time. You know, we're here to be the passengers, not the drivers, right? And so can we just enjoy? Can we lean back and relax and enjoy this precious life? We would love to see you in the classes this month. Again, one more time at wiseskiescollective.com. If you're watching on YouTube, please subscribe and like and share. If you're listening on the podcast, same thing. We appreciate you helping us share what we're talking about. The classes this month, again, are May 3rd, Incarnation, Crosses, and Human Design. You don't have to know your chart. You don't have to know human design. You can come listen, explore, and learn on May 3rd at noon with Leisha. And if you're a non-member, you can pay to drop in. So you can still come, but it's free for our members. North Node Astrology is May 6th at noon with me, free for everybody, but you got to register. Spirit Guides is May 18th at 6 Central with me as well. And same thing, it's for our members, and non-members can drop in and just join for one class if you want to come get just a taste of our frequency and how we teach. And we would just love to see you around. Wise Skies. Thanks, Leisha.
Thank you, Tiffany.
Thanks, everybody. We love you. Namaste.
Namaste.